What's up guys, I'm Lucky Aces and today I'm going to change the oil on my 2008 Honda Shadow Aero 750. Now before we get started we're going to need a couple things. We're going to need a 17mm box end wrench, and if that doesn't work I'm going to use these tiny channel locks very carefully. Roll of paper towels, and of course we're going to need oil and a filter. You're also going to need an oil pan. I also forgot to mention that you're going to need a funnel. I like to use these big ones because regardless of what she says, size matters. So the filter, I like to go with the K&N, and that's going to be part number 204-1. And the reason I like the K&N is because it has this little nut on the back. Get out of here, box. This little nut on the back of the filter, which is going to make taking it on and off a heck of a lot easier. I already have one of these on the bike. If your filter doesn't have this, you're going to want to use a filter wrench similar to this here. So we're going to use 10W40, which I'm pretty sure is what the bike calls for, but the most important part is right here, the motorcycle 4-stroke, the ultimate wet clutch transmission and engine protection. Do not use regular car motor oil in your motorcycle. You will destroy your clutch. And of course you can use any brand you like, but as long as it's motorcycle 4-stroke oil. And this bike calls for 2.5 quarts, so we got 1, 2, 3. All right, let's get going. So what we're going to do is we're going to start the bike. We're going to let it run for about a minute or two. And what that's going to do is that's going to warm up the engine case and then warm up the oil a little bit. That'll make it flow a little bit easier. Now we don't have to rev her or anything. We just let her idle. All right, now that she's nice and warm, now the messy part. All right, so over here on the left side of the bike, the oil filter sits right behind here, which you can access from underneath. Right in here, the drain bolt is kind of in the center of the case. I'm gonna try to scoot you under there. Not sure how well you guys can see this. Yeah. I don't know how well I can see it either, to be honest with you. All right, here. That's your drain bolt. It's perpendicular to the frame rail. So we got rail on this side, rail on this side. It's kind of smack in the center. Yeah, so this is gonna be a 17mm bolt. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our wrench on there and attempt to just break this loose. And then what we'll do is we'll slide our oil pan under here, take the bolt out, and let her drain. And remember, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. And if righty becomes super loosey, then you got a problem. So that didn't take a whole lot of effort because you don't monster torque these things down. It should be snug. So that is nice and loose. We'll slide our oil pan out, or underneath the bike, excuse me. And then this is the messy part. I'm gonna swing around to the other side. Try not to make a giant mess. Where is that bolt? The angle is completely different from this side. Here we go. I even caught that little crush washer, look at that. All right, so she's flowing. Then what I like to do is grab the tripod with my oily hand, then the oil fill cap here. Once the drain bolt's out, I like to loosen this guy, pop it up, and that's gonna help that flow just a little quicker. Then we go and grab some paper towels and try to clean our hands up a little bit. I like to wipe this bolt down too. And a lot of people say that when you change the oil, you need to replace this crush washer. I have never replaced a crush washer on any vehicle I've ever changed oil on. As long as you don't lose it and don't deform it, monster torque it, or anything like that, it should be fine. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and spin this filter off here. So I'm going to slide my pan back to where it's going to cover the filter opening. And this is why I like using those K&Ns with the bolt on the end of the filter, because otherwise pretend this is that filter wrench. You have to sit there and spin it off like so. But with the K&N, just take a 17-inch box wrench. I like the ratcheting ones. Nice and easy. You can unscrew that filter. Break her loose, get her hand tight. Spin her off. Like to expose some threads. Get that oil draining, just like so. Go ahead and finish spinning that off of there. Just dump all that nasty filter in there. Now, the oil filters have a gasket on them. Make sure that gasket comes out with the filter. Because if it is stuck to the engine case and you put the new filter, if you put the new filter with the new seal over the old one, you are going to leak like crazy. And then you're just going to have to do this all over again. So make sure that gasket comes off. All right, once that's pretty much done draining, I like to take a paper towel, kind of clean up around that drain hole, clean up around where that filter was. Let's get a lot of that excess dribble off of there, which it looks like we're still draining a little bit, but that's okay. And for those of you that have never changed the oil on your Honda Shadow before, if you've never done it yourself, maybe you're a new rider, or maybe you just never had the confidence to tackle it yourself. And if you've made it this far, say you're doing a great job. Seriously. I mean, honestly, this is such a great feeling because there's nothing like working on your own machine and learning how to work on your own machine. All right, so we're pretty much drained. I mean, it's going to drip a little bit. We're going to leave this pan in place. We got our drain bolt and our crush washer. We went ahead and cleaned those up. So what we're going to do is going to try not to make too big of a mess. We're going to hand thread that back on there, back in its little home. Nice and snug, just like so. Oil on my fingers. I'm gonna slide the oil pan out of the way. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. The thing is, though, do not monster torque this thing. If you strip this out, if you strip this bolt out, your life is going to be miserable. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hand snug it. And if you have a stubby wrench, that's probably the better way to do this. You might be able to get a socket in here. So we want to just snug it up. Don't monster torque it, just until it stops moving. And that's it, no more. Go ahead and take another paper towel. Buy the good ones, don't buy the single ply crap like I did trying to save a buck. These things suck. If you have shop towels, those are even better. But we want to clean all that oil off of there so that we inspect for leaks later. That'll make our life easier. Now, the other thing I really like about these K&N filters is they actually have plastic that covers the bottom of the filter. That's going to keep all the dirt and grime out of there. So once you got that plastic popped off, what you want to do, and you could probably use your new oil for this. I like to use my old oil because I already got a pan full of it. Is take a little bit and just run it around the rubber seal on this filter. What that should do is, I guess what it does, it's supposed to help it seal against the case. And I don't know if it prevents leaks or not. I've been told to do it, and I've always done it, and I've never had a leak. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments, but I'm pretty sure that's why you do this. So then we're going to take our filter. So this thing can stop dripping oil on my driveway. Find those threads. If you need to, what you can do is you can spin this filter to the left, and then you'll feel the threads kind of seat. And then very carefully spin her to the right, because we don't want to cross thread this thing either. Should spin on there nice and snug. Now you don't want to freaking wrench this thing down too hard, so what I like to do, even though your hands are oily, it's a little tricky, spin her till she's hand tight. Then I grab my wrench. I can either use the oil filter wrench to grab it like so, or like I said, I like these K&Ns because I can use these box end wrenches, 17 millimeter, and then I just give it a couple little snug turns, just until she stops, boop, and that's it. And then what I like to do is I like to make sure that my drain plug's back in here, because if not, then we're just going to dump oil on the ground. So our drain plug's in, that's snugged. Our filter's in, that's snugged. All right, now we're ready to put oil back in it. All right, so now we take out the fill cap. But jam this funnel in here. Should stay up by herself. Now I know this bike takes 2 quarts of this 10W40. I'm going to go ahead and pour in 2, then we're going to check it and go from there. And the reason I'm going to start with 2 is there may be some residual in there. You should probably do this a little slower as well. but I'm feeling confident. Then with one in there, poke my head underneath. I don't see any drips. So I'm gonna grab our second one. And while I'm pouring the second one, I want you guys to take a second and think about how much money you're saving at the dealership right now. How much labor are you saving doing this yourself? Squirt all that in now. Now for this next part, you're gonna want the bike on as flat and level a surface as possible, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna fill it. Now I don't know who Meg is, but if I can stop shaking, these two marks right here, we're gonna want our oil level somewhere in here, preferably kind of in the middle. All right, so the way you check the oil level on these things is one, you gotta get your funnel out of there. And two, the bike doesn't need to be on the kickstand. The bike needs to be standing straight up. Now what you do with the oil cap, the filler, the dipstick, whatever you want to call it, wipe all that excess oil off of there. And if you have someone to help you, this next part is super easy. But since I'm by myself, and I usually am working on this thing by myself, this is what I do. So the oil cap goes in, rest it on top, do not thread it in, and then pick the bike up to level. But if you have someone who can help you, or if you're on a lift or a stand, then this makes this process a lot easier. Okay, so I like to lift it up, give it a couple seconds, set the bike back over, and then check where I am on the dipstick. So I am right below center, I guess. I'm about a quarter of the way up. I'm gonna go ahead and add about a quarter of another quart and then see where we're at. So based on how much I got left, we'll run her down to about 700 mils or 24 ounces. If you overfill it, what you're gonna do is you're gonna overpressurize your crankcase, and that pressure is gonna want out. Either through here, one of your other seals. It's not gonna be a fun time. All right, back on the bike. Funnel comes out. Grab this guy again. Nice clean dipstick. Set it on the case of my dirty, dirty engine. Lift her up. Let's give her, I don't know, 15 seconds-ish. And I tilt her back to her side. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but we are just above the G on Meg. So I'm gonna go ahead and call that good. So what you wanna do though is, once this is changed, you'll probably want to, I don't know, ride it around once or twice and then double check your levels. All right, and the last and final step is we're gonna start her up again and we're gonna check for leaks. I'm gonna poke her head under here. What we're gonna do is make sure we don't see anything dripping from the filter or the drain plug. Looks like we're okay. I think we might be good. And that's it. You just changed the oil on your Honda Shadow 750. So if you found this handy and want to learn one or two more things, like maybe how to rejet this carburetor, you can check out this video right here. And as always, y'all be good. See ya.